Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Jeffrey M. Fauntleroy, and today I want to talk to you about mental health in the African American community. More importantly, I want to talk to you about pastoral care for one another, mental health, and the pastor in the African American church. It has, over the years, been a number of suicides in the African American church and the church at whole. There's this pressure to perform. And because of that, and because of the lack of self care, because of the lack of knowing when to say when, knowing when to ask for help, many African Americans are suffering in silence. And I want to read to you some of the stats dealing with this according to the Schaefer Institute when it comes to African Americans and pastors in depression or states of suicide. 70% of pastors constantly fight depression. 71% are burnt out. 72% of pastors say they only study the Bible when they are preparing for sermons. 80% of pastoral ministry has negatively affected their families. 70% say that they don't have a close friend. 80% of seminary and Bible school graduates will leave the ministry within 5 years. Members of the clergy now suffer from obesity, hypertension, and depression at rates higher than most Americans. In the last decade, their use of antidepressants has risen while their life expectancy has fallen. Many would change jobs if they could. 13% of active pastors are divorced. 23% have been fired or pressured to resign at least once in their careers. 25% don't know where to turn when they have a family or personal conflict issue. 25% of pastors' wives see their husband's work schedule as a source of conflict. 33% felt burnt out within the first 5 years of ministry. 33% say that being in ministry is an outright hazard to their family. 40% of pastors and 47% of spouses are suffering from burnout, frantic schedules, and or unrealistic expectations. 45% of pastors' wives say the greatest danger to them and to their family is physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual burnout. 45% of pastors say that they've experienced depression or burnout to the extent that they needed to take a leave of absence from ministry. 50% feel unable to meet the needs of the job. 52% of pastors say they and their spouses believe that being in ministry is hazardous to their family's well-being and health. 56% of pastors' wives say that they have no close friends. 57% would leave the pastorate if they had somewhere else to go or some other vocation that they could do. 70% don't have any close friends. 75% report severe stress causing anguish, worry, bewilderment, anger, depression, fear, and alienation. 90% feel unqualified or poorly prepared for ministry. 90% work more than 50 hours a week. 94% feel under pressure to have a perfect family. 1,500 pastors leave their ministries each month due to burnout, conflict, or moral failure. Doctors, lawyers, and clergy have the most problems with drug abuse, alcoholism, and suicide. Ladies and gentlemen, mental health is real. Mental health in the African American community is something that we ought to be aware of. And more than anything, I would say that for our pastors, it's important for us to recognize the signs of burnout, depression, or any of those things that is related to mental health in the African American community. Let's not just pray for our pastors, but let's get our pastors some help. If you are a pastor, if you are a clergy member, if you are a leader within the church, and you feel yourself experiencing some type of burnout, some type of depression, seek help. Don't just pray. Pray, believe, fast, but get help. God not only answers prayers, but in the form of answering that prayer, he gives us licensed psychologists that can assist us through these troubling times. God bless you. May the Lord keep you. God bless you, sir.